Welcome to the Simple Privacy Tips podcast. Today, I am going to tell you how to download a copy of your data from TikTok. Everyone wants to feel in control of their digital privacy, but our lives have become so digital that it's overwhelming to know where to begin. The Simple Privacy Tips podcast makes digital privacy super simple. We make regular podcasts teaching you how to regain control. Subscribe to the podcast to make sure you don't miss a tip. You will feel confident that you're in control of your and your loved one's digital privacy. As the future becomes even more digital, don't let your privacy disappear. Don't forget to subscribe today. So before I go into the details of how you download your data from TikTok, I want to talk a bit about why you might want to download your data from TikTok, but then also from other big tech platforms. So most of the big tech platforms these days give you the option to download your data. So usually you can find a setting somewhere in the settings and privacy area of the platform that says, download a copy of my data. What you get when you download a copy of your data using this mechanism is a copy of things that you are sort of aware that you've done on the platform. So you'll get information like your posts or a list of the people you're connected with, your direct messages, profile information like if you've changed your name or if you've changed your bio, links that you've shared, images that you've shared, videos you've shared, things that you're generally aware that you've done on the platform. So one reason you might want to request a copy of your data from the platform is just to have this as an archive. So say, for example, you want to delete your account, but you want to retain some of the posts that you've done and the messages you've sent and like your bio information. You could request a copy of your data and then it would give you that sort of archive. Some companies also provide you information about how they have profiled you. So how a company sort of thinks about you, who they think you are, what they think you like, what they think you're motivated by, that sort of thing. So for example, the way that content is curated for you is shaped by your interests and who the platform thinks that you are. So if you're seeing certain political content, for example, or certain health content, the platform has likely profiled you in a way that suggests to them that you would find that content interesting. And the result of you finding that content interesting is that you'll stay on the platform longer and you're more likely to interact with that sort of content. Because at the end of the day, of course, the goal of these platforms is to keep you engaged and using their technology as long as possible, because that metric is really important to shareholders to show that the platform is generating lots of value for users. And it also is an important metric to sell the advertising services of a platform. So if a platform is able to demonstrate that users both frequently use a platform, but then they also use the platform a lot, so they are on the platform for a lot of time each day, for example, advertisers are going to sort of flock to that platform because they have lots of eyeballs to get their ads in front of. The way that a platform profiles you is super interesting because sometimes it's eerily accurate. So the content that you're shown on the platform or even the ads that you're shown on a platform are super relevant to you. Like you'll be scrolling through and you'll see something that's just spot on with what you're interested in, and it's almost spooky. It's almost like, can they hear what I'm talking about? Are they listening to me via my microphone or something? But in reality, what's going on is that they just have a lot of data about what you like. They're able to profile you and build that profile out even more with the more data they collect about how you use the platform and what you search for and who you're connected with and what posts you linger over longer, etc. But sometimes the way that a company profiles you is just shockingly inaccurate. And that's equally interesting because sometimes there are real ramifications that come from that inaccurate profiling. When you're inaccurately profiled, that means that a platform has an assumption about you that isn't accurate, and that can have lots of harmful effects. Because the profiles that a platform develops about you is what they use to allow advertisers to reach you. So if they inaccurately profile you, you're likely to get ads that aren't really relevant to you, which in some cases really isn't a big deal, but in some cases it can be. So imagine a situation where a company has an open position and they want to advertise that position on Facebook or TikTok or whatever platform. Now, it is not legal to target those ads at a certain type of person. So someone from a certain socioeconomic background, a certain race, a certain gender. And platforms have been under a lot of pressure to disallow this because companies were actually doing that. They were targeting like only men, for example. But given the way that platforms have built up these huge profiles about their users, there are ways that advertisers can still target certain groups, but not overtly. So say, for example, the company wants to target someone from a certain socioeconomic background. How they would do that is on Facebook, set up the ad, and then use sort of signifiers of people who are from that background. So live in certain zip codes or are interested in certain products or are connected with certain people. I'm not quite sure all the targeting categories available on Facebook, but there has been reporting of researchers being able to very specifically target people without actually overtly targeting people in a discriminatory way. So all that to say, when platforms collect so much data about all of us and use it to profile us, the harms are inevitable. People will try to advertise to certain groups, which will mean other groups are not given equal opportunity. Unless the data that platforms collect is severely reduced, there really isn't a way to reduce harms. There always seems to be a workaround, despite platforms saying that they're not allowing advertisers to target race or sex or inferred income. Nonetheless, researchers have shown that advertisers are able to find ways of doing this. And so there are real tangible harms that come from mass data collection and opaque profiling and targeting people. And the real catcher is that oftentimes platforms are really against providing information about how they profile their users because it's sort of considered the secret sauce to their advertising machines. So if a platform is really good at profiling and targeting advertisements and targeting content, they're not going to provide information about how it actually works because other platforms would try to replicate that system and pull users from platform A to platform B. And so the result of that is that users see content that is either eerily targeted or really not at all relevant. They don't really understand why. Platforms don't provide a lot of information about why, even when they're basically required to by law. For example, in the European Union, they're required to provide information about how they profile people because of a privacy law called the General Data Protection Regulation. But there have been example after example of people showing that they're still not able to understand why they're seeing certain content and really showing that the platforms have failed to provide any sort of meaningful transparency to users. And so a reason that you might request your data from TikTok is to get a better understanding of how they view you. So what they think you're interested in and why you are seeing the content that you're seeing or the ads that you're seeing on that platform or another platform. You can see what you get back from a company when you request a copy of your data. Maybe they will provide profiling information. Maybe not. Maybe it will only be the content that you're already aware that you shared on the platform. So now I'm going to tell you how to download a copy of your data from TikTok. You can go ahead and open the app and do it with me, or if you want to come back and do it later, I have a free guide online that you can download and go through the directions step by step, which I will link in the description. But the first step is to go to your TikTok profile and click on the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner. Then you scroll down a little bit and you'll see privacy. Click on that. Next, click on personalization and data. And then underneath personalized ads, you'll see a little button that says download your data. Click on that. And then at the very bottom, scroll down, click on the button that says request data. I requested in a text file because it's easy to open. You can double click it and it'll open up. You can read through it. Now, depending on how much information the platform has about you, it could take a few days to receive this. You should receive a notification within about 3 to 4 days for sure, and then be able to download the data and open it, and be able to see what's in there. I believe with TikTok, you open the file just within the app, so you can keep checking in there. Within 3 or 4 days, you should see a little file that you're able to click on and read through what you get. Now, word of warning is that when I did this, TikTok provided me shockingly little data. It was shocking because the way that TikTok curates its feed is incredibly targeted. The content, basically from the moment you open the app and you start scrolling on the feed, the content very quickly becomes super relevant to you. And so it's obvious that they're collecting lots of information about sort of what you're interested in and profiling you to narrow in which categories of content you are most likely to keep watching. I had thought when I requested my data from TikTok that I would get information about what categories the platform had put me into, but I didn't. I got just information that I had knowingly provided to the platform, like my profile information, etc. So if you get something else back that's more interesting, I would be super interested in hearing about it. If you live in the European Union, you do have more options. So one option you have is to send TikTok a data subject access request. A data subject access request is basically a right that people interacting with a company that's based in the EU have, where they can send an email usually to the company and say, I would like a copy of my data. This is a data subject access request. There's a bit more to it, but that's basically the gist of it. And then the company is legally required to send you more meaningful information about how they profiled you, what information they have about you, etc. If you would be interested in a podcast about how to write a data subject access request, let me know and I can make an episode about that. The people that have this right to ask the company for more detailed information are people who are interacting with a company based in the EU or someone who is a resident of the EU. So, for example, if you're a resident of an EU country, you can send a data subject access request. Or if you live somewhere else in the world, but you are interacting with a company based in the EU, you can also write to that company and request a more detailed copy of your data. So let me know if that would be something that you are interested in learning more about. Okay, so that is how you request a copy of your data from TikTok. Don't forget to download the free TikTok guide, which has directions for how to download your data from the platform, just in case if you want to reference back the directions without having to re-listen to the podcast. I will talk to you again in the next Simple Privacy Tips podcast.